Avengers No Surrender. Welcome to the Comicstorian Full Story channel, where we take old and new full stories from the Comicstorian main channel. A series where we take complete stories and combine them into one long video to give you a better watching experience. Today, we're covering the 16-issue Marvel event known as Avengers No Surrender. The Earth has been taken by mysterious forces, and the Avengers must save it. But what do they do when a mysterious being known as Voyager shows up claiming to be an original member of the Avengers? This is Avengers No Surrender. I hope you enjoy.
Over in Texas, the not-so-known Avenger Miguel Santos sits undercover on a sting trying to pick up on some chop shop mechanics and decides he's gonna play a game of cards. As the next hand is dealt, the shop owner looks around the corner asking, "What the hell are you doing?" And the mechanics tell him that they're just playing cards with a new client. But the shop owner shouts, "You idiots! This isn't our client. It's a damn superhero. It's the living lightning." Miguel sighs as he pulls his glasses down, thinking that this was just supposed to be an easy undercover job. But since they know who he is, maybe he'll give them an autograph. A few seconds later, there's a loud boom and the entire garage explodes when lightning strikes down upon it. Once the smoke clears, the FBI agents move in to clear up the area, and Miguel fixes his suit and he gets ready to head out. Miguel tells his friend Dan that maybe they should go get some dinner, and Dan asks, "Just dinner?" Miguel laughs, saying that his poker face is bad, huh? And just as Dan tells him it's the worst, there's another explosion, but this time, not just in Texas, but also in New York. Across the globe, many costumed heroes are witnessing the earthquakes in what appears to be an alien invasion. With all of the chaos happening, Vision contacts Alpha Flight Station requesting a status report. Is there anything that they are seeing from space? Carol Danvers sits in space staring, and Puck says that Earth is gone. No Earth, no moon. Carol tells him to launch probes and implement long-range scans. Something has stolen their planet, and she wants to know what. Back on Earth, many of the heroes' communications begin to fail as they try to work out the details as to what is even happening. But as the heroes work to try and stop the disaster from claiming the lives of civilians, there's another shift in the ground. Along the fissure, Nadia Van Dyne and Edwin Jarvis are thrown off balance, and Nadia quickly suits up into her wasp costume. Jarvis tells Nadia that she needs to help who she can. He'll try to get to a safe place until all of this settles. She does just that, but as Jarvis begins to escape, he sees a young boy standing in the way of some of the falling debris. He rushes over to push the boy out of the way, and as the debris falls, it lands right on top of Jarvis. Over in San Diego, Rogue is working with her team to try and stop a massive tidal wave that is threatening to crash down on the beachfront and flood the surrounding areas. Janet Van Dyne asks if there's anything that they can do, and Johnny Storm tells her that he can try. As the wave starts to tower over everyone, Johnny focuses a blast of fire at the center of the wave to try and vaporize it. But as the water begins to part, Johnny exerts all of his energy, causing Janet to catch him by the leg, yelling that these wings are not meant for two people. However, the destruction is not just limited to these areas. New Mexico and Mount Vesuvius are also seeing their share of madness. While Citizen V, Roberto da Costa, and his team work on containing the erupting volcano, Tony Ho finishes the calibrations on her device and flips the switch. A giant bubble forms around the volcano and she yells, "There you go, one handy force field plug. That should hold. For now." Roberto tells everyone good work. Now they just need to figure out where their satellites went so that they can contact. But Squirrel Girl, Doreen Green, says, we may have another problem that we need to deal with first. If there aren't supposed to be any satellites, what's burning in the sky? A flaming object begins to fly over Rome, and as it flies over the Colosseum, it stops, shooting down into the ground. Over in Washington, D.C., T'Challa contacts Steve Rogers, telling him that things are just as bad in Wakanda as everywhere else. This is starting to look like something cosmic. Steve tells him, "Cosmic really isn't in my wheelhouse. However, whatever's happening to Earth, all I can do is contain the damage. Hang on while Steve throws his shield to break a pillar from falling on a fleeing couple, and as he does, he stops. Not only him, all of the other heroes across the world, they all just stop in place. As everyone tries to understand what's going on, all of the remaining Avengers hear a call. Attention, all Avengers, active and reserve. This is a priority 1 message. Wherever you are, if you are receiving this, you are hereby called to assemble. All of the heroes begin to make their way towards New York, carrying what frozen-in-place heroes that they can. But before anyone can even discuss the situation, Nadia runs up screaming, "Jarvis!" She tells everyone that he was helping someone and there was an accident. He's badly hurt. He's at the hospital now. They have to do something. Rogue tells her that they will do everything that they can for him, but right now, that means doing everything that they can for everyone else in the world. Jarvis would understand. Nadia asks, understand? After everything that he's done for us, he's not your priority? Well, I understand very well. And Nadia storms off. Beast follows behind her, stating that he'll go with her. With his medical training, he's sure that she'll let him come along. Quicksilver, Pietro, scoffs, telling Rogue that he's glad to see that she hasn't lost her leadership skills. And Rogue tells him, don't push it. Pietro asks, or what? You'll fire me again? Why did you even include me on the alerts? That's when a light shines and a voice says, Rogue didn't call everyone here. I did, and I'm sorry for being late. Everyone looks up gasping, asking if it could really be. The woman before them tells them yes. After all, you know what they say. Once an Avenger, and then Valerie Vector, Voyager, founding Avenger member, flies down. Meanwhile, over in Midtown Manhattan, Nadia and Beast begin to have scans on Jarvis. Nadia says that they can't let Jarvis die. He's been like a father to her. And Beast says that they will make sure that they take good care of him. But that's when Beast stops and says that these scans show something very, very wrong. Back in the Avengers mansion, Sam asks Valerie what their next move is going to be, and she says that yes, she is the one who called them together, but she isn't just going to take over the operation. There are many of them who may not even know who she is. Sam then asks, seriously? How couldn't any of us know who you are? You've been there since the beginning. Without you, there wouldn't have even been an Avengers team. Several of the members all begin to go over their favorite stories of Voyager, and that's when Hercules mentions that they haven't forgotten what happened. Voyager says that that's right. When she fought Victory, her powers to generate portals clashed with Victory's powers of electromagnetism, and she was thrown into the void of space. She was trapped and years began to pass, and when the Earth was stolen, somehow it jolted her to phase back into reality. The only thing that she knew is that the world needed the Avengers. She then goes on to state that she's been gone for a decade, but when it comes to good leadership, they already have what they need. Everyone looks over at Sam, Rogue, and Roberto, and Pietro sighs, stating that he guesses so. But while the team figures out what the next course of action is going to be, over in Egypt, there's a storm that begins to form over the lands. Nearby, people run for shelter, and there's a loud crack-oom as lightning strikes down twice right next to itself. As the smoke clears, two groups appear at each of the spots where the lightning struck. On one side is the Black Order, and the other is the Lethal Legion. Without a word spoken to each other, they begin to charge to attack. But before each of them can even hit each other, there's a small explosion that throws everyone aside. A loud voice calls out that that will be enough. The rules of engagement must be followed. Another loud voice says that what his opponent speaks is true. Combatants may not engage until the pyramid is activated. Use this time to gather yourself and survey the battleground. Prepare for the trials ahead. Corvus Glaive looks at Captain Glory and tells him, next time that we meet, I will bring you death. And Glory tells him, you are welcome to try and prove it on the battlefields. As the two groups separate, they begin to scout the area, with Ebony Maw asking what shall be their plan. Corvus says the rules are clear. They cannot slay the other team until the match begins, but that does not mean that they're going to stand by and do nothing. This planet was chosen as the battleground because of its unique defensive properties. These designed obstacles were selected to make the game more interesting, so the Black Order will take the initiative and clear them off the board. Back in the mansion, Rogue and Roberto begin to argue over what team formations they should be sending out, whether they should work solo or in teams. Valerie says that everyone needs to stop bickering and work together. Right now, they need to create small teams to maximize their resources. Communication is going to be their biggest problem. No one's comms are working, and as she talks, there's a slight scree sound. Pietro runs over to the computer to try and figure out what the cause of the noise was, and as Sam looks back, he sees an image of Corvus and his wife, Proxima Midnight, and he says that he's pretty sure that that noise is coming from them. Miguel asks who they are, and Roberto tells him the Black Order. Used to work for Thanos, they are as powerful and pleasant as that implies. Proxima calls out the Avengers, telling them that there is much that needs to be done, and you will only be on the way, so this is farewell. Sam uses Red Wing to see the surrounding area and then shouts, they're on top of us. They're directly above the mansion. Seconds later, the entire Avengers mansion explodes, with all of the Avengers inside. As the building begins to burn to nothing, Proxima says that in the tick of a second, the Avengers are no more. She assumed that this would be thrilling, not anticlimactic. Black Dwarf says so much for the playing field defenses, but are they really dead? And Supergiant says, without a doubt, a telepathic sweep of the area reveals no signs of life. Meanwhile, at another location, Valerie teleports the entire room of the Avengers to the auxiliary Avengers headquarters, and Valerie falls to her knees. Wanda asks if she's okay, and she says that she's never moved such a large group before. She's going to be fine, but she needs a minute to recharge. Quicksilver shouts that the Black Order struck against them. Now it's time for them to strike back. They cannot afford a moment's hesitation. Sam tells them that they are miles away now, and Valerie needs to recharge. So unless he plans on bringing everyone back to Manhattan one by one, Roberto then says that Sam is right. As much as they want to attack, they need a few minutes to strategize. Elsewhere in the cosmos, a man recites a saying. For when the great scorer comes to write against your name, he writes, not that you've won or lost, but how you played the game. Grandmaster then gets up from the game table, continuing to state that he shall miss the people of Earth. In some way, they almost understand. Another voice then scoffs, telling them, they understand nothing. Even I understand nothing. Come, let us begin our game. The Grandmaster steps up before 5 pyramid-like objects and says, fine, challenger, each to his element. The Grandmaster reaches out grabbing one of the pyramids and says, I have chosen Earth. And the challenger reaches out grabbing fire, stating, a weakling to the end. Back at the Avengers auxiliary headquarters, Tony speaks to Beast to inform him that they still don't have comms, but her people at AIM are going to be dropping off supplies soon. If they can use the fiber optics and hack the TV towers, they should have something working. As she says that, though, a siren goes off and it tells Beast that there's a global alert. She's gonna have to keep in touch. Roberto covers his ears, shouting, we already know that we're in a global crisis. And Tony says that it's not regarding that. This is something new. 10 minutes ago, something crashed down in the Rome Coliseum and Peru. Both locations are suffering from rapid environmental effects with a side order of alien invaders. Roberto then says that they should organize 2 teams and 1 reserve unit. With Valerie, they can attack both fronts and still keep members as backup. Sam calls out, all right, he'll lead a squad to Peru. Given the surrounding area, he's gonna take Torch, Red Hulk, Synapse, and Wonder Man. Rogue then says that she'll take Rome. She'll need to take some heavy hitters, so she's gonna take Thor, Hercules, Lightning, and finally, Cannonball. Quicksilver looks around and asks, Cannonball? A heavy hitter. Why am I being left behind? Rogue tells him that it's pretty simple. She needs to know that she can count on these people. She can't count on him. Quicksilver turns to leave, and as Synapse calls out to him, Quicksilver says, just don't. I don't want any pity. Valerie then takes Rogue's group to Rome, where the Lethal Legion is already making an attempt at claiming the object that has fallen to Earth. Once it's done, Valerie returns to headquarters to bring Sam and his team right to the middle of the fight between the Black Order and the Lethal Legion. But a short while later, while Dr. Voodoo and Scarlet Witch try to figure out if they can use their magic to revert the Avengers who have been placed into stasis, Quicksilver's brooding. He says that he can't just sit here and do nothing while the others run around the globe fighting. It's shameful. Wanda tells him that they all have their roles to play. Rogue made it clear that she can't trust him, so she suggests that he follows orders to try and win back that respect. But Quicksilver doesn't respond and ends up running past her to the outside. He runs out through the city and the ocean, thinking after years of loyalty, it's all been wiped away by one mistake. A mistake that, yes, nearly cost Synapse her life, but it weighs on him every single day. And just as he arrives in Rome, he sees the Lethal Legion has already made short work of Rogue and her team. He quickly slams the psychic user Manticle to the ground, and then he moves to the Metal Master. But also, at this time, back in the HQ, Scarlet Witch is focusing her magic, and then Vision wakes. And Quicksilver stops. The Blood Brothers laugh, stating that it looks like the Zipster has run out of zip, and they begin to beat on Quicksilver. Seeing what happened to Quicksilver, Hercules shouts, rest assured, we will avenge him. As Jane gets up, she calls for her hammer, Mjolnir. But the Metal Master asks, you named your hammer? How amusing. As she reaches for it, Metal Master pulls it away from her and sends it rocketing back towards Rogue. Cannonball yells, I got this, and then there's a loud boom. Mjolnir shoots by, cracking Cannonball in the head, and Manticle grabs onto Hercules' mind. While everyone is trying to recover, one of the Blood Brothers grabs Quicksilver and begins to crush his head. But just then there's a loud explosion going off, throwing the Blood Brothers to the side, and Black Swan and Black Dwarf fly down. Swan says, so easily distracted. Metal Master takes Mjolnir and aims it right towards Swan. And then there's a thundering crack as the hammer hits Swan's shield, and he says that this is sad. She had hoped that they would be worthy. With Metal Master focusing forward, Supergiant phases through him, rendering him useless. Dwarf then takes a swing at Jane, yelling, let the Black Order show you how the game is played. Rogue shouts, game? All of this pain and destruction for a game? Who the hell is behind this? Meanwhile, over in Peru, Sam calls out to Synapse, asking if she can get a read on any of the villains here. She does a quick scan, but as she tries, she's mentally shocked and says that these 3 new people here are the new Lethal Legion. Their names are Captain Glory, Drawl, and Farine. Don't ask her any more than that, please. The one thing that she did see is that they're fighting over some alien artifact. Johnny yells, asking, are they ready to throw down now? And Sam tells him that he needs to slow his roll. These guys haven't noticed them yet, so they should just let them take each other out. And Wonder Man then yells, Avengers, observe! Back in Rome, Voyager teleports Rogue, asking what happened here. Rogue tells her that she needs to take Quicksilver and Cannonball back to the base. Voyager picks up Quicksilver's frozen body and says that she is running on fumes here. If she leaves, she may not be able to take it back, and Rogue says that Quicksilver can't wait. So that's just how it's gonna have to be. The rest of them will be fine, she hopes. Back at the base, Vision begins to speak to Wanda, and that's when they hear a sound and see Voyager teleport in holding Quicksilver. Vision looks over asking, "Who is that?" And that's when his body is placed back into stasis and Quicksilver begins to groan in pain. Wanda says, "Oh no. We did this." Over in Rome, the fight between the three groups rages on, with Swan stating that she shall shield the Black Dwarf, and this will allow him to take the pyramid, if he dares. Dwarf lets out a loud laugh, asking, "You think I won't make sacrifices? Just keep the others busy while I show you." Dwarf charges to the center of the Colosseum, where the pyramid is, and as it's surrounded by a whirlwind of rocks and boulders, he reaches out through it all and he touches the pyramid, and that's when there's a blinding light and he screams out in pain. Dwarf and the pyramid both fade away, and a large one appears in the sky. Swan says the first point goes to them. "Supergiant, we are done here." While the members of the Black Order teleport away, Jane shouts they have to go after them, but Rogue says they have to wait. They were going to grab that thing before Black Dwarf did. It completely disintegrated him. What's going to happen when the team in Peru tries the same thing? Without a second to spare, Miguel flies into the air, shouting that he'll be able to get there the fastest. Let's hope it's fast enough. Back in Peru, while the Black Order engages the Lethal Legion, Red Hulk Robert Maverick runs in, throwing Corvus to the ground just before killing Farine. The rest of the team follows behind him to take on the two teams, but in the middle of it, Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, sees the pyramid floating in the sky surrounded by fire. He begins to rocket off towards it, and Robert says, "Oh, now I get it. We have to grab the doohickey thing. Might as well be me. So Hulk it away!" As Robert jumps up to try and grab it, Miguel gets closer to everyone, screaming for everyone not to touch the pyramid. But it's too late as Johnny Storm's hand reaches out, grabbing the pyramid. At this time, back in the cosmos, Grandmaster watches as Johnny grabs the next pyramid, and he sighs. Challenger, who is also watching, grinds his teeth in rage, and Grandmaster says that they may have to consult the rulebook on this one. There has been a development. Back in Peru, Johnny's body begins to disintegrate just as Black Dwarf's did, and Captain Glory salutes him, telling him, "Well fought." Just as Sam asks what does he mean, Farine says that this was an unexpected outcome. It seems the point goes to the humans. Wonder Man asks, "Point? What are you even talking about?" And Corvus tells Proxima that it is time for them to leave and regroup. And Proxima says, "Just look at the humans. We could end them while they ponder their fleeting mortality." But as both the Black Order and Lethal Legion leave, Synapse says that she thinks that thing just killed Johnny. "We have to follow them for Johnny." Sam yells no, they need to make sure the people are safe. That's what they do. And Simon says that he's on it. Robert begins to tell Miguel that he didn't know, but Miguel says don't. "We saw it do the same thing to the Black Dwarf in Rome. I just wasn't fast enough." As Sam lands beside them, he starts to state that he knows this hurts, but Miguel stops him, telling him Johnny and Rogue were close. "I need to head back and let her know." Sam tries to stop him, telling him that he doesn't have to do this alone, but Miguel changes into his lightning form and tells him, "I wasn't asking for permission." Also at this time, back in Manhattan, Nadia is looking over Jarvis and mentions that it could be possible, with everything that they've seen in the scans that Jarvis has been exposed to over the years of cheating the Avengers from whatever they had. He could have contracted toxins or some kind of weird radiation. Beast tells her that what they seem to be detecting is an Avengers fever. Nadia hugs Beast, asking, "What happens if it doesn't break?" Back in Rome, Rogue and her team finish rescuing the civilians that they can, and Rogue says that they need to stop playing defense against these creeps. Jane tells her agreed, these villains must be stopped. Let them gather their allies, and Rogue stops her, asking, "And what, have another board meeting? Roberto, Sam, and me have been trying to lead this team and save the world, but it isn't working. I'm not much of a leader. I've always gone with my gut, and my gut is stating that we need to go now and kick these galactic." But that's when they hear a thundering krakow as lightning strikes. Miguel walks up, telling her, "It's all my fault. I tried, but he grabbed it." Rogue asks who, and Miguel tells her, "The torch. He's gone." Over in the cosmic game room, Challenger says, "It's almost funny. I had an opportunity to even the score. Instead, I let the obstacles get in the way." Grandmaster tells him that if he wanted an easy game, he would have picked easy terrain. Instead, he wanted a place that created more of a challenge. The Avengers Earth. The world that tamed the Phoenix, that bested the mad Thanos, that altered the mighty Galactus' very nature. This is the ultimate contest. Now, being called the Challenger, don't tell me that you're afraid of the challenge. Challenger grinds his teeth and he walks up, grabbing Grandmaster by the throat, telling him, "I am the Challenger because you stole my name. You!" We were friends once, survivors of the first sentient race, inheritors of the power primordial. We were the elders. But while the other elders focused on their immortality, the two of us chose to play games. But as each of us chose our names, I picked Grand Master. But you wanted that title. There can only be one Grand Master, so we played a game for the title where the loser was banished, removed from existence, a place where there was no time or space, and all I could do was wait in the darkness. I wanted everything to die, and one day, everything did, and that's when I made my journey back. I came back to challenge you to a rematch. As the challenger holds Grandmaster up, Grandmaster tells him, indeed, but the rules apply. There are penalties for cheating. Twisting off my head would count as cheating, wouldn't it? Challenger throws Grandmaster to the ground, telling him, the head will stay on, only because I'm winning. Grandmaster then says, now that the first round is over, let us pick up our elements. The challenger reaches out, grabbing the yellow pyramid, and says, I will take air, and that will leave you with water. Grandmaster reaches out, grabbing the blue pyramid, telling him, not water, ice. As the Grandmaster gets up, he goes on stating, keep in mind, you're one player short, and the challenger begins to laugh. Oh my dear friend, you have grown old. I was never short a player. I have one in reserve, a very special ace in the hole, one who understands rage. Over in the ruins in Arizona, something calls out for help, and there's a faint flicker of green light. Back in Rome, as Rogue begins to process what Miguel said, she begins to cry, trying to keep herself together. But before long, Voyager appears before the group and says that they are back on the clock. Tony spotted 2 more beacons, and that means that the Black Order and the Lethal Legion won't be far behind. Hercules tells Voyager that they're going to need a moment. Losing an ally like Johnny Storm has affected her, and Miguel explains what happened. Voyager looks at Rogue and tells her that there's nothing that she can say, and Rogue tells her that's true, so don't say anything, because I'm done talking. I don't give a damn about this game or who the players are or who's winning. I want to beat them baddies black and blue. Is that clear? Jane Foster then asks where the villains are supposed to gather, and Voyager tells her that the beacons were spots in New Mexico and Antarctica. Roberto wanted to bring everyone, but Rogue tells her no, she's going now. It's time for the Avengers to live up to their name. Tony radios to Sam the location of the next beacons, and just as Sam says that they're going to regroup now that they are down a member, Robert tells him to hang on. It feels like he's about to, but before he can say another word, he groans as his body reverts back to normal human form. He grunts and says, ever since Hydra screwed with my Hulk genetic plugin, the dang hour of power has been getting shorter. Plus, I got some heart damage now. Synapse asks if he could just stop hulking out, and Robert says, would you? Hey, I could still carry a gun. Sam tells him no, you're benched, and then radios to Voyager that they have to get them all back to base. Voyager says no, she has her limits. She's bringing Rogue's team to the Antarctic now, and after that, she's gonna have to rest. Sam then radios to Roberto stating that they're going to need a transport, and Roberto tells him that he has an AIM Quinjet en route, ETA 2 minutes. As for your manpower shortage, electricity begins to spark off of Robert, and he asks, what's the ding-dong heck? And suddenly, he vanishes in a purple light. From that light, Voodoo, Roberto, and Wanda appear, and Voodoo says the spell of bodily substitution is in order. Just don't ask me to do it again. The spell's ingredients are difficult to source. Sam tells him good, they just doubled their numbers, and Wanda tells him, look up, the odds are better than you think. Janet flies down and she says, the original Wondrous Wasp to your service. Sam asks, how? Weren't you on pause? And Janet says, yeah, I guess that whoever is running this wants a specific number of heroes on the field. Simon said that Johnny died. And Janet says, yeah, that's when I snapped out of it. As the Quinjet begins to descend, Sam says that they can mourn later. Their ride is here. And Simon tells him with his speed, he can catch up with them. There's someone he wants to check on first. Seconds later in Manhattan, Beast tells Nadia that Jarvis is stable for now. Perhaps that's the best that they can hope for. And then a voice says that maybe they can hope for more. As Beast runs over, picking Simon up, shouting, oh my stars and garters, Beast and Wonder Man together again. What's the news? Simon says that there's nothing to make light of. Turns out that those pyramids that they were after, well, they destroy whoever touched them and we lost Johnny Storm. Beast says that he needs to be out there then. And Simon tells him no. I don't have time, and I wanted to tell you that you need to be here. This isn't about saving the world, it's about saving the people that we love. Simon then sees Jarvis and asks, all of this from a concussion? And Nadia explains that there is a lot more to it. They think that he may have been exposed to different types of toxins that he accidentally picked up. But then she realizes, wait, if this is a sort of radiation, no matter the frequency, and Beast agrees, yes, Simon tells them both, I'm kinda lost. And Nadia says, you're exactly where you need to be. We can use your powers to transform the ionic energy. Beast says that this is something that they talked about before. And Simon asks, so if there's a radiation, you're asking me to pull radiation out of the air. Nadia looks at Jarvis and says, not just the air, him. Now power up. He begins to focus his energy on Jarvis, and as he reaches towards him, he stops, pulling his hand back, telling them, I'm sorry. I wish there was something there, but there's no radiation, alien or otherwise. Whatever you think is causing Jarvis's coma, you're headed in the wrong direction. Over in the Antarctic, Corvus and his team get ready to move into position when Ebony Maw is suddenly struck with a flying hammer. They look back to see Rogue and her team jumping out of Voyager's portal, and Rogue goes straight for Corvus' glaive. While everyone takes their respective villains, Rogue begins to battle Corvus alone, and after being knocked away with a knee in the face, Rogue gets back up, taking off one of her gloves. She jumps up from the ground towards Corvus as he swings his spear, cutting her neck. But pushing through the attack, Rogue reaches out, grabbing Corvus by the face and begins to absorb his power. Just as she's had enough, she punches through his chest. Proxima screams that they're going to pay for that, and just then Mjolnir shoots by, throwing her off balance, and Swan rushes in to tell her that they need to retreat before all is lost. Proxima yells, no! We stay and we finish them! And Rogue stands over Corvus's lifeless body. As the supergiant sends the Black Order away, she watches Rogue's group, and thinks that she could take the Asgardians' mind and kill them all. But from behind her, Farine appears and slashes through Supergiant, whispering, shh. The prize is close at hand, and this victory belongs to the Lethal Legion. Meanwhile, back in Arizona, Challengers, Ace in the Hole begins to stir. A voice calls out asking for help. I'm still down here with him. He won't stop. Don't you understand? No matter what, he won't die. Oh God, what if he can't? And then a large set of teeth appear, and they roar. As the fight in New Mexico continues, Captain Glory takes a moment to reflect on how he came to this point. He was once a proud captain in the Kree Armada, which were the benefactors of countless ungrateful lesser civilizations. His squadron was slain in battle, and just as he was about to be put to rest, he was ripped away. The one who removed him from his time was the Grand Master, and along with it, there were 6 others that were taken. The Grand Master tasked them to be the pawns in his competition, forming his so-called Lethal Legion. Their goal was simple: claim these strange, world-shaking devices, and if they were victorious, they would be allowed to live, and if not, they would be returned to the moment just before their deaths. The Black Order would prove to be a worthy fight. However, these Avengers, they will be dealt with swiftly. But while the Avengers try to fight off the Lethal Legion, Metal Master mentions to the Grand Master that he ordered them to capture the pyramids, but there was nothing about encasing it in iron. As Metal Master begins to wrap the pyramid to avoid anyone else from touching it, Wanda grips down on his mind, asking if the Grand Master is the one behind this. What sort of sick game does he want us to play? What is our part in any of this, and what are we doing? Wanda throws Metal Master against a building, and Metal Master pulls himself out, asking, "You haven't been told? Oh, this will be delicious." Back at the Antarctic, Rogue stands over Corvus Glaive's body, still having his powers absorbed into her mutant ability. She says that she's not going to say that she's sorry. Not after what happened to Johnny. Jane tells her that she knows that look well. Revenge won't heal the wound that she wears. Voyager tries to reach out and comfort Rogue, telling her that his skin is cracked but Rogue tells her it's fine, this is what she does, and in doing so, she'll be able to see some of Corvus's thoughts. A being returned him to life for a game. They were here to collect these pyramids and win a battle against the Grand Master. The Grand Master and the Challenger, the Lethal Legion and the Black Order, both trying to score points with Earth as their arena. It really is a damn game to them. Farine then calls out to them that it is true. They are all pawns in this grand cosmic contest. Nevertheless, our Legion will emerge victorious no matter the cost. Before anyone even has a chance to react, Farine then reaches out, touching the pyramid, disintegrating just as all of the others before have. Now with the third relic claimed, Voyager says that she's too drained to teleport them and the knocked out villains all at once. She's going to return to recharge and then go where she is needed. As Voyager teleports away, Rogue picks up Corvus's glaive and says, "Here's to hoping the others are having more luck playing goalie than we are." A short while later, back at the Avengers Auxiliary Headquarters, Tony Ho asks Voyager if there's anything that they can do for her. She's looking white as a sheet. Voyager sits down, telling them no, she'll be okay. She can only travel so far with her powers, and after moving so many people, she needs to recharge a bit. Tony then laughs a bit, stating that Voyager is the perfect name for her, huh? She's had some theories about teleportation herself. There were papers by a man named Arthur Vector. Voyager then tells her, "Wait, you do my father's work? My father was one of the first scientists to devote his attention to the quantum entanglement. When I was younger, my father and mother would often fight over me and how they rarely paid any attention to me. So when my mother went to my father's lab to state that she wanted a divorce, that's when things changed. As a little girl, I got upset and shouted that they couldn't have a divorce, and I ended up running through my father's machine. After that, I gained gained these powers, and I worked with my father to further refine my abilities to teleport anywhere on Earth, carrying whomever I pleased. Using these new abilities, I discovered that there were others like me, and that's when I formed the Avengers. This trip down memory lane has given me enough time to recover, though. It's time for me to get back into the field. And over in New Mexico, Sam and Roberto's teams try to keep the Lethal Legion away from the pyramid, but Synapse begins to notice something about Captain Glory. She can predict his attacks, and after she avoids him and goes in for a strike, Glory briefly disappears, causing Synapse to miss her attack. Glory asks if she's not beginning to see everything, and Synapse stops, telling her, "Oh no." Sam flies down asking what's wrong, and Synapse tells them that it's the secret that they've been holding. We really are just obstacles in their contest. Sam then asks, "What do you mean by contest?" And Synapse goes on telling him, "I'm not sure what the stakes are, but the Grandmaster, he pulled together the Lethal Legion." Metal Master then calls out that that's right, and the Challenger summoned the Black Order to do the same. Grandmaster moved your entire planet to liven up the game board with chaos. But while everyone is focusing on their opponents, Glory then tells Mentacle that this is the perfect time to do what they discussed, send him in. Mentacle begins to concentrate, and suddenly one of the Blood Brothers begins to feel something push him. Using her telepathic abilities, Mentacle begins to launch the Blood Brother towards the pyramid, forcing him to reach out and touch it. But the twang of several arrows being launched can be heard, and then there's an explosion just before the Blood Brother can grab the pyramid. Everyone looks back to see Hawkeye and Red Wolf standing there, and Clint tells everyone to fill him in on what's going on. However, what everyone doesn't know is that the Challenger's ace in the hole is starting to come into play, and he's as angry as ever. While the fighting continues, back in Manhattan, Beast looks at a telescope and he sees a small black mass, stating that he's finally found it. They've ruled out radiation and alien energies, but what they did not rule out alien pathogens on a quantum level. The key word here is alien, meaning that it's not limited in the ways that Terran diseases are, which is why they didn't spot it earlier. Right now, some or even all of the Avengers who have traveled off-world may be carrying it, and it would seem that Jarvis's concussion rewired his diseased defenses, making him vulnerable. Beast then looks at Nadia and asks if he may have her assistance in helping Jarvis. And just as she says yes, Beast sticks her with a syringe. He explains that they have to concoct a vaccine against something that they've never seen before, and in order to do that, they're going to need to see if she is fighting it off as well. Within seconds, he starts to see a solution to fighting off the pathogen, and Nadia says that they need to hurry. Jarvis's vitals are plummeting. Over in New Mexico, Roberto, Sam, and the others continue battling against Captain Glory and his Legion, and as everyone fights, Red Wolf watches. He studies the battlefield and tells Clint, "Give me some cover fire." Clint lets go another arrow and he asks what he's thinking, and Red Wolf tells him that he's going to collect the artifact. Clint yells, "No! No way! You know what happened to the torch. If you touch it, you're gonna die." Wolf smiles and tells him, "No. If I vanish from this place, I will find a way back. You've known me longer than anyone else. Trust me on this." Clint tries to come up with a reason, but he sighs and simply says, "Damn it." As he grabs an arrow, he tells Wolf that there's an opening coming up, and when he gives the word, break right. Wolf begins running forward as Clint readies himself, and just before the Blood Brothers can grab Wolf, an explosive arrow hits one, allowing Wolf to easily dodge another. As Wolf runs, Sam looks around asking what he's doing, and Clint tells him, "Trust me on this." Once Wolf's fingers touch the pyramid, his body disintegrates, and Sam shouts, "We could have stopped the Legion without..." But Clint stops him and tells him that Wolf didn't want to take the chance. He's right. Now with this pyramid out of play, Sam asks, "When did you get so callous? First killing Banner and now this? That man was your friend." Clint fires off another arrow, telling him, "No, he wasn't my friend. He was my brother and he gave me his word. Red Wolf is not dead." Meanwhile, in the Cosmic Game Room, both Grandmaster and Challenger look up at the scoreboard, with the Challenger grunting. He says that he's starting to think that these obstacles are more trouble than they're worth, and the Grandmaster tells him, "It's all right. The final pyramid will be the decider." Back in Manhattan, Beast studies the charts and Nadia shouts that the cure is working. Jarvis's vitals are growing stronger. Then, Beast hears screaming coming from behind. He looks down the hallways to see the fifth and final artifact appear, and with it a horde of dead spirits begin to terrorize everyone. Over in the Cosmic Game Room, both Grandmaster and Challenger smile, and the Challenger says, "Such a location for the Soul Pyramid will summon obstacles in force. They may try to claim it, and this will be an amusing strategy. Don't forget, I have my own strategy in play. The reserve player is just waiting to come out." Back in the hospital, Jarvis slowly begins to blink, and the first thing that he thinks is, it's a lie. While Jarvis tries to tell Nadia that it's all been a lie, he ends up passing out from pain, and at this time, Challenger has mentally reached out to his reserve player, telling him, "Let your inner anger rage. Rage is silent, cold, and it cannot be stopped. In some rage, it never, ever dies." The Challenger's final player, the Hulk, steps out of what was once his grave, ready to fight. Over in the Avengers auxiliary base, Miguel flies in just as Robert grabs his gun, shouting, "Jumpin' Jehoshaphat!" Miguel tells him to lay the finger off the trigger, please, it's just him. And Enigma asks if that's Miguel Santos, the living lightning. She follows him on Facebook! Miguel says that he just goes by Lightning now. And wait, Enigma, weren't you in stasis? Enigma says, yeah, I was. And Robert tells him that she snapped out of it once Red Wolf was lost. Hopefully, he has some good news. Miguel tells them that Rogue's team is alive, best he has to offer at the moment, and they're gonna need Voyager so that they can get a transport from the Antarctic. Tony stops him, stating that she just left, and they all thought that she was going with them, which is weird, but they have other problems to worry about at the moment. She begins to pull up images of Jarvis's hospital, and just as Miguel asks what they're looking at, Tony says the 5th doohickey just landed, and it's in the worst place. Back at the hospital, Beast and Nadia Pym watches the Wraiths are flying through the building, but Nadia looks back and says that they are losing Jarvis again. Beast tells himself that he can't hesitate. Does he help Nadia fight the alien pathogen inside of Jarvis's brain, or fight to rescue everyone else? The needs of many versus the needs of few. This isn't even a decision to think about. He yells to Nadia to fill the injector with the antidote and get ready to shrink down. He'll be right back. And as Beast tries to save a patient, one of the Wraiths grabs him and begins to fly off. Beast knows now that he can't directly fight the Wraiths, so it's time for Plan B. Eliminate the threat the only way that they know how to. Make contact with the pyramid game piece. Beast runs back into Jarvis's room, and then Nadia tells him that she has everything ready to go. Jarvis should be fine if he injects him with. Beast stops her, telling her no, you have to inject him. Before the two of them can even argue though, Nadia begins to shrink Beast, stating that she can give him about 15 minutes. He has to be quick. As Nadia sets Beast down, she tells him that he is too important to the team. Besides, there are already 2 wasps. They don't need 2 of them. After dropping Beast into Jarvis's mouth, she says that she can't choose Jarvis over the team. He taught her better than that. Beast tries to shout for her to stop, and once he's gone, Nadia wipes the tears from her face, putting the helmet back on. Beast thinks she can't go. She's just a child. I've already had my time as a hero. She hasn't. But Godspeed, little one. For the short time that he's known her, there's never been anyone as smart and as full of hope or as brave as Nadia Pym. And once Nadia is ready, she begins to fly towards the pyramid with one outstretched arm as she says goodbye. And just as her fingers touch it, something shocks her, pushing her away. She says, okay, that's not in the rulebook. Maybe I can just shrink down? And even as she tries to use her Pym particles, nothing happens. She begins to ask if she can't touch it or shrink it, what is she supposed to do? And just then, one of the Wraiths shoots towards the people in the waiting room, with Nadia quickly shrinking down and grabbing them, telling them not to panic or fight on this. She states that she knows that shrinking feels a bit odd, but she's got it under control. She then jumps out the window before the Wraith can detonate and explode. And Nadia tells herself, maybe if she says she has it under control enough, she'll actually believe it. Meanwhile, inside of Jarvis's head, Beast reaches the brain, and as he lands, he begins to witness all of Jarvis's memories. Jarvis has been through everything with the Avengers, all of the changes in the adventures. He has been there since the beginning, and that's when Beast notices something that he's looking for, the alien pathogen. The pathogen reaches out to grab Beast, and as it does, Beast drops the injector with the antidote. He tells himself that he must outsmart this, outfight it. However, as much as Beast struggles, the pathogen brings him closer and closer to its mouth. Beast says that he's sorry that he failed. And just before the pathogen can actually ingest Beast, Nadia flies through, sticking it with the antidote. She grabs Beast to take him out, and he asks how. She tells him that she couldn't get to the pyramid, but she did clear the way. She cleared the way, but she couldn't just sit and wait around for Jarvis. As the two of them begin to fly out, Jarvis begins to wake up again as a heavy pulse from the pyramid is pushing away. He leans up coughing, stating that there's something terribly wrong. Someone! But before he can finish, Voyager appears, telling him not to worry. Let her handle this. Beast says, thank the God that I most definitely believe in at this very moment. It's Voyager! Nadia asks, how did the team manage without her? And Jarvis says, no, that's what I've been trying to tell you. You have to listen. Jarvis grabs Beast, asking, don't you see it? You've all been tricked. Your deepest memories have been altered. There is no Voyager. Beast and Nadia stop, and Beast says, he's right. Deep inside Jarvis's mind, there was never a Voyager. Nadia then asks, how is that even possible? The memories are so vivid, and Jarvis tells them that it's all been a lie. Whoever this woman is, she is not, nor has she ever been, an Avenger. Voyager then touches the pyramid and disappears, and Nadia asks, who was it then? Beast tells her whoever it was, she stole the final pyramid, and she may have damned us all. In the Grandmaster's cosmic game room, the Grandmaster and the Challenger watch the video feed of Voyager taking the final pyramid and disappearing. Challenger says that woman, the ones that the Avengers call Voyager, she took the final pyramid and she vanished. Grandmaster tells him, yes, it's an interesting turn of events. Looks like the Hulk has no target to chase after. Challenger listens to Grandmaster's tone and asks, why do you seem so smug about the situation? You knew this was going to happen, didn't you? Grandmaster laughs, please calm yourself, old friend. Out of the elders of the universe, you of all people should know how things change so quickly. Humans are full of surprises. They make for very entertaining obstacles and useful pawns. Now let us continue to watch the game unfold, one move at a time. Back over at the Manhattan Hospital, Jarvis asks if any of this makes any sense, and Beast tells him of course it does. Chillingly so. Voyager's story was alive from the start. It was as if we were all waking from a dream now. Nadia then says that her entire story is some sort of memory implant. It might be because of Jarvis's infection that those memories could not be placed into his head. Beast tells her not to worry, we will find her, and we will get the answers that we want with extreme prejudice. Meanwhile, at the Avengers Auxiliary Headquarters, Tony continues her work on getting her suit fully functional while keeping contact with the other teams. As Tony works, Enigma takes the frozen Vision and Squirrel Girl into the medical bay so that they can attempt to run more tests. In there, Quicksilver and Cannonball quickly begin to wake up from their injuries that they suffered in their last fight. However, for Quicksilver, he begins to notice something coming out of the frozen bodies. Small blue orbs floating around. But before he can wonder what they are, there's a loud static sound that fills the entire base. Robert grabs his gun shouting, "What in tarnation?" And Tony tells him it's some kind of energy disruption. The reading shows that it's just then Voyager appears with the final pyramid, and everyone notices that her skin has changed from white to blue. Everyone asks why she would bring the pyramid here and why is her skin changing colors. Voyager shouts to everyone to stay back as she takes the pyramid, slamming the door to the vault shut, locking herself inside. She thinks to herself that she needs time to rest, time to think, and figure out her next move. She sits down against the vault door, stating that not everything she said was a lie. She did do her research. There really was a Professor Arthur Vector. All she did was tie her story to his so that she would have a valid background if anyone looked. It was all a part of her plan to keep her identity secret. Everything depended on the Avengers not knowing that her real father was the Grand Master. Growing up, her father would always tell her that it's all about the honor of the game, that a Grand Master never cheats. But he has forgotten that as she is watching his moves ever since she was a little girl. Together, they would gamble on supernovas as they raced towards extinction. They won entire planets so that she could end their wars and protect them from Galactus. For him, it was all about the contest, leaving all the winnings to her. It's also true that he gave her the ability to teleport, to move through memories, and also that he would have a secret advantage in this coming game. But now it's time for her to change her position on the board. She won't be his ace in the hole any longer. So who's playing for who now? Up in the cosmic game room, Challenger laughs, stating, "Haha, it looks like Voyager didn't go very far." And Grandmaster says that it seems not a poor play on her part. Challenger tells Hulk to hurry and go after her. I wonder how the remaining Lethal Legion will fare against the Hulk. Back on Earth, Glory and Mentacle leave to try and recover from their recent losses, but before Glory can even mention an idea, something comes crashing down on top of them. As the dust settles, Mentacle tells Glory to be calm. She will reach into the beast's mind but Glory tells her that that beast has broken his spine. Mentacle tries to dig into the Hulk's mind, and as she realizes she can't, all that can be heard are her screams. A short while later at the auxiliary base, there's a loud thoom, and everyone grabs their weapons asking, now what? Tony says she'll check the cameras and hopefully it's not too serious. Everyone looks at the screen and they see the Hulk land in front of the base. Miguel says, wait, is that the Hulk? The original Hulk? Isn't he supposed to be dead? And Tony tells him, well, he isn't now, and I'm pretty sure it's not a coincidence that Voyager locked herself away with the pyramid. We're gonna need everyone on this. Enigma will take point, and everyone else, wounded or not, you're going to be needed. Robert then asks, that includes Red Hulk, right? And Tony tells him, of course not. Your Hulk outs are getting unstable and not to mention shorter. Robert laughs, telling her, well, I alone might not be able to, but I'm pretty sure I can come up with something. Over at the auxiliary entrance, Enigma readies herself, having her suit change its density to its maximum, waiting for the Hulk to come through. After just a few bangs on the giant steel door, it falls over and Enigma rushes into attack. The Hulk brushes the punch off, and as Enigma tells him that she will be the one to defend the world against him, the Hulk reaches out, grabbing his hand along her suit, and he rips it apart. Cannonball rockets himself in, calling to the Hulk, but as the Hulk tosses Enigma's body to the side, he effortlessly knocks Cannonball out of the way. Quicksilver notices Cannonball's blast field is down, meaning whatever he hits, it's going to end up snapping his neck. So he tries to run and catch Cannonball, but the force from Hulk's smack causes Cannonball to slam into Quicksilver, breaking a few of his ribs. Miguel starts trying to charge up, stating that he'll be the one to end this. He will give him everything with this one attack. As his lightning strikes down on the Hulk watches as Miguel drains himself, doesn't even bother to attack him. That's when there's one final voice that calls out to him. And Robert says, "Oh yeah, you're in trouble now, you dadgummed son of a gun, because here comes the Iron Hulk. God bless America." Within seconds of stating that, the Hulk walks forward, punching into Robert, knocking him back outside. Robert, Red Hulk, picks himself back up, stating, "Is that all you got?" And then he jumps up and punches him back down into the ground. As the Hulk gets ready for another hit, Robert releases a blast from the glove, throwing the Hulk's body away, with the thrusters in Robert's boots kicking in. Before the Hulk even has a chance to land, Robert hits the Hulk so hard that he begins to break the Iron Patriot glove. Hulk then stands back up, brushing off the hit, and just as Robert uses the other glove to let out another blast, Hulk grabs it. He crushes Robert's fist, and before Robert can even pull back, the Hulk uses his other hand to grab Robert's head. Green energy begins to resonate out of the Hulk, and all Robert can do is say, "No!" Warnings begin to go off that the gamma energy draining is happening, and moments later, all of the gamma energy within Robert's body is sucked out. Back with Sam's team, the radio buzzes with Tony pleading for help, and Simon tells everyone that they're gonna have to go on ahead. Wanda tries to stop him, but before she can reason with him, Simon converts his body into ionic energy and he takes off. Wanda begins to state that maybe she has a better idea on how they can handle the Hulk, but she's gonna need a volunteer. If she can lift the stasis on Vision with Hex magic, they may have a chance. Sam asks if that's really going to work, and Wanda tells him, "No, but we have to try anyway." Wanda turns her magic towards Voodoo and says that she's sorry, and he tells her, "Don't be, I fully trust." But at that exact moment at the auxiliary base, Vision tells Hulk, "You must release Robert right now." Before Hulk has a chance to even turn around, Vision phases through Hulk's body. Hulk then lets go of Robert's arm, and seconds later, there's a purple streak as Quicksilver runs by, grabbing Robert. As Quicksilver collapses in the medical bay after setting Robert down, he begins to see those blue orbs that he saw before. He manages to state that they are objects moving faster than the eye can see, but before he can even go further, he passes out from his injuries from before. Outside, Vision tries to reason with the Hulk, telling him, "I can understand your destructive nature, but there is nothing you can do against me." Vision starts to release a thermoscopic eye blast, and just as he does, the Hulk punches him and sends him flying. He gets back up and the Hulk charges after him, so Vision holds out his hand, phasing into the Hulk's head, ready to scramble his brain. But even as he does that, the Hulk reaches out, countering him, grabbing atop of the Vision's head, squeezing and ripping the Vision's head apart. Everyone watches as the Vision falls to the ground, speaking in binary code, and Hulk just walks off scoffing. Mindless. As he begins to leave, a portal opens up and Black Swan and Proxima walk in. Swan says the battle is already finished and the Challenger's monstrosity has cleared the path for them. Cannonball rockets off to Proxima while Miguel converts his body into living lightning and he focuses on Swan. As the two charge in, they're knocked away just as fast. And Swan gets ready to attack Miguel again, but as she does, her force field is shot. She looks back to see Tony and Enigma using parts of Enigma's suit to provide cover for Cannonball and Miguel. Miguel says, "You both know that you're angels, right?" And Tony yells at him to concentrate your fire until we've won. While Hulk heads over to the vault, he starts to beat on it. And that's when there's another flash of purple light striking the Hulk in the back of the head. Simon floats in front of the Hulk telling him, "You know, I know it's been a long time since we've talked, Bruce, but do you have a moment?" Simon tells him, "Come on, just listen to me. I'm not here to fight you," but before he can finish, the Hulk cracks Simon across the face. And Simon tells him, "Okay, but you should know that I'm not letting you into that vault. You can do all that you want to me, but you can't hurt me." Hulk punches into Simon again, and Simon tells him, "Come on, I'm not gonna fight back, just listen, Bruce, we're friends." And the Hulk stops for a moment and he tells him, "Friends?" Just as Simon lets out a sigh of relief that he stopped, the Hulk slams Simon's head into the vault, telling him, "We're not friends. You're nothing more than a Hollywood snob, drowning in your own ego, always preaching about non-violence when it's so easy because the violence can't reach you. Well, I can reach you, I can hurt you, and I will smash you." Simon asks, "Who's speaking? Is that the Hulk?" And the Hulk says, "What's wrong, Simon? I thought we were supposed to talk." Back with the others, Swan charges up her force field ready to destroy Tony and Enigma. And Tony says that they're going to need a lot more firepower if they even stand a chance at living. Miguel tells her that he's got it covered, and he starts to charge both her and Enigma. As Miguel's energy powers up Enigma's suit, a blast is shot into Swan's force field, and it begins to tear through it. Proxima then hits Cannonball with her spear so that she can help. And just as she charges at everyone, there's a shakaroom as Mjolnir shoots through the air. The hammer flies back, hitting Proxima in the face, and when she looks back, she sees Rogue, Jane Foster Thor, and Hercules waiting for her to get back up. Inside of the vault, Voyager watches the fight, thinking to herself that this is teamwork. She's been so focused on being one of them that she never realized that not a single one of them wins, but rather they win. The Avengers win. They don't fight for individual victories. This isn't a game to them. What is it that her father fights for? Just to win? Outside of the vault, the Hulk begins to bend Simon's head back. And Simon says, I know that Bruce is in there. It's pointless to tear my head off. I can't die like a normal person. And the Hulk laughs. That's the irony. Banner was right. Sitting in my head crying that he always knew I would come back. How the Hulk always survives. And that's why the Challenger woke me. Simon says that whoever this Challenger is, you're being used, Hulk. And the Hulk tells him, no, I'm the one using him. When the game ends, the Earth will end with it. No more puny humans. Just me. Alone. Finally. But just then the Hulk hears someone call out, ho there! And Hercules runs in, punching into the Hulk, telling him, stand down or the Lion of Olympus will stop you. Simon shouts for them to wait, but right as Hercules attacks, Jane Foster follows up, bashing Mjolnir into the Hulk's chest. Rogue pulls Simon back, telling him, you did a great job holding the Hulk back. And Simon says, no, I could still reach him. While Rogue joins the fight next, Voyager watches, telling her father to look at them. Their strength is awe-inspiring, fighting against a creature that does not yield. And the Hulk throws his arms up, knocking the three heroes away, with Rogue slipping her glove off, stating, it's time to power you down, buddy. Rogue takes her arms, grabbing onto the Hulk's neck, and as she begins to drain his power, she sees something. She sees Bruce, and Bruce tells her, don't do this, just run away. He can't be stopped, he can't die. As more power goes into Rogue, she's thrown back, and that's when her skin begins to turn green, and she tells herself that she needs to remain calm. Jane shouts that they must strike together, and her and Hercules jump onto the Hulk, with Simon telling them to wait. He calls out to the Hulk, telling him to listen. Maybe he can't die, but he thought he could. He was at peace, finally, until they woke him up. The Hulk struggles with Jane and Herc on him, and he tells Simon, just shut up. However, Simon continues telling him, now you know the truth. You can never have that peace again. They can't leave you alone. They won't leave you alone. The Hulk flexes his power, knocking Jane and Herc off of him, and the Challenger's voice begins to ring out, telling him, get to the vault. You're almost there. The Hulk grabs the vault door, ripping it off, and he walks inside, with Voyager telling him that she can't allow him to claim the final pyramid. She's made her choice, and she is fighting for the Avengers. She begins to get ready to teleport the Hulk away, but before she can, the Hulk swings his arm back, cracking Voyager in the head, stopping her. He looks at the pyramid and he begins to reach out, and the Challenger tells him, yes, claim your prize. And the Hulk tells him, my prize, mine to smash. With both hands, he takes the pyramid and he smashes it. Up in the cosmic game room, Challenger falls to his knees asking, why? Why did he do that? And the Grandmaster tells him that it's tragic, but you somehow overestimated and underestimated your final playing piece. The Hulk hurt you in the only way that he knew how, by committing a foul, which results in a negative point for you, and it seems that it is time for your banishment. Back in the vault, the Hulk screams, telling everyone, please, forgive me. And he reverts back to Bruce Banner. Rogue looks at Voyager, telling her that she played with their minds. What was her part in all of this? And she tells him that she can explain. But that's when the Grandmaster tells her to quiet herself and return to him. She shouts out no, she's trying to help them. And now that she sees what an Avenger really is, she doesn't want to fool them anymore. They already knew about the Elders in the cosmic game, but what they didn't know is that she was one of the pieces. The Grandmaster yells for her to be quiet, and Voyager goes on stating that the Grandmaster hid me amongst your ranks. I was to convert you into a piece that would work with the Grandmaster, and while you were all distracted, I would bring the last pyramid to him. Herc asks, so the Grandmaster is your master as well? And Voyager tells him no, he's my father. And up in the cosmic game room, the Challenger shouts, you charlatan! You deceptive fraud! All of this talk of the sanctity of the rules and you stacked the deck! Grandmaster tells him, you are overreacting. Voyager is simply another tool with which I move the pyramids about. True, I may have taken advantage of some gray areas, but if you would like a clean victory, allow me to offer an interesting rematch. And just as Grandmaster says that, the Challenger tells him, no! And he releases the destructive blast into the Grandmaster's stomach. With the Hulk destroying the last and final game piece, Voyager's part in the Avengers fight became clear. She was never there in the beginning. In fact, she was never an Avenger to begin with. And now she sits before the remaining Avengers, and everyone stares at Voyager with so many questions. Who is she? What is the cosmic game? Is her father really Grandmaster? How can she be a part of this when so many people in this world are dying? And as everyone starts to bombard her with these questions, she begins to open a portal, telling everyone that she needs to see her father. She can make things right. But before she can disappear, Wanda and Voodoo lock down her mind, and Voodoo says that she must not resist. The fate of the planet may depend on her knowledge. After a brief struggle, she stops telling everyone that they are right. She won't run, and she does really want to help them. Meanwhile, in the living quarters, Bruce is sitting alone with Jarvis sitting down beside him, stating that it's odd for people to be waiting on him for a change. Tea? Bruce tells him thank you, and Jarvis pours a cup, and he asks, "You aren't going to be joining in the discussion out there?" Bruce takes the cup and he tells him that he can't face them, not after what he did. Vision, Enigma, and that Red Hulk, and Hawkeye. He put him through hell. That arrow through his brain, it was agony. He died in agony, but he died happy, because that way the Hulk would die too. Except they saw how that ended. And now he's going to have to live with this, with every dark thought that he's ever had waiting to burst through his skin and walk around this world. Maybe he did die that day. Maybe this is just his hell. And the king of hell is just living in his flesh. As Bruce takes a sip of his tea, Jarvis sighs and he quotes, "The mind in its own place." Bruce looks up and Jarvis continues stating, "And in itself can make heaven of hell or hell of heaven." John Milton, Paradise Lost. It was my favorite when growing up. Bruce asks, "Do you know who that speech was written for?" Jarvis tells him, the fallen angel Lucifer, after his expulsion from the divine presence. The reason I brought it up is because there is a great evil within you. We caught a glimpse of that today. I've been serving heroes, including you, for a very long time. But with the name Avengers, what crimes are you actually avenging? Perhaps your own. You all carry failures within you, and you must strive to do better. Your worth is not dictated by how far you've fallen, but how hard you work to rise again. So from one person to another, I beg you, do not give up. And over in the medical bay, Tony finishes examining the Vision and says that she gives up. Without a proper lab, she cannot put the Vision back together. If she was to just put the junk they have on hand into him, she may end up doing more permanent damage to him. Miguel sulks, stating that this is all his fault. If only he had been stronger, he wasted his shot when he was an Avenger. And Simon says, "Wait, you think that all of this is about how much you can throw at people? If we're looking for raw power, then we would have fired Hawkeye on the first day." Not sure if you've heard, but Hawkeye just shoots arrows. As Simon continues to try and give Miguel a pep talk, Pietro yells to everyone to just shut up for 5 seconds. He needs silence while he concentrates. There's something moving around faster than any of them can even see. Tony stops him, stating that the sensors would have picked anything up. He's probably just suffering from the effects of the concussion. And Synapse walks in telling him that he's pushing himself way too much. She knows that he wants to help, but right now he needs to rest. Quicksilver looks away, telling her that she shouldn't even be talking to him after everything that he's put her through. And Synapse says that he did what he thought was right and she got hurt. They can't plan for those things. Sort of comes to the job, and I don't blame you for, but that's when Quicksilver sees a small blue orb whiz by and he yells, "There! It's a beacon that's keeping everyone in stasis. I can just grab it and maybe." But after trying to grab the orb and missing, Quicksilver tells Tony that she's going to want to recalibrate her equipment. The beacon is almost entirely frictionless and outside of the visual spectrum of light. And on that note, he's going to be right back. Back with Voyager, she tells everyone to listen closely as she tells the story of her father. Her father is one of the elders of the universe. These elders are beings of incredible power with 2 things in common with each other. Each are the last surviving of the otherwise extinct races, and they each have personal obsessions: collecting, fighting, gambling. Her father, Indugast, was the last gamesman of the universe. He hungered for competition. And then one day the challenger appeared. The game board was Earth, and it was removed to a distant galaxy in a neutral space. The 2 created teams, and unbeknownst to the challenger, she herself was placed in her father's ranks. However, when she tried to reach out to her father just now, all she's getting is emptiness. Back over in the control room, Beast watches over the world events and sees different cities being hit with intense natural disasters. He yells that they just skipped over DEFCON 1-2. He's not even sure what comes next. And all of a sudden, things are going to get much worse outside. Just then, the lightning strikes down at the old Avengers mansion and the Challenger steps out, stating, "This planet is a pestilence upon the universe. It is time for it to be purged." The world begins to turn dark and the Challenger calls out. His voice yells out loud enough for everyone to hear him. He tells them, "My opponent considered you something special, but I am here to inform you that that is not the case. That and this planet will no longer serve a purpose in our grand cosmic game. That is why I will reduce this planet to nothing more than a cloud of carbon atoms. You will sing praises and applaud my triumph for the rest of your natural lives. For the next 5 minutes, you may pray to me, who you may now call Grandmaster Prime." Back at Avengers headquarters, Voyager says, "He's here. The Challenger's on Earth." And Roberto asks, "Is he the one that's gonna make the Earth crumble around us?" And Voyager tells him, even an elder can't break an entire world, but on my father's satellite there's a machine. It maintains the energy envelope that keeps the Earth in the correct rotation and temperature. If damaged, the Earth would literally fall apart. Suddenly there's a loud karoom, and a force hits everyone to the ground. Sam asks what the hell was that, and Janet says that it sounded like someone is smashing a hole in the roof. Jarvis tells him that he's afraid that is exactly the case. Dr. Banner overheard them and where the Challenger's exact location was. After that, Banner became violently upset and, well, he hulked out. Over at the Challenger, he looks at some of the destruction at the Avengers mansion and he picks up a broken piece of a statue stating, "You would build a statue for a monster? I'm doing you primitives a favor." But before he could even finish, the Hulk lands on him, punching the Challenger deep into the ground. As the Challenger pulls himself back out, the Hulk yells, "You woke me up, and you brought me back to life, and you didn't leave me alone!" And with that, the Hulk punches the Challenger again, and the Challenger yells, "You hurt me. You actually hurt me. How dare you!" He swings his fist back, hitting the Hulk in the face with enough force to launch him into space. As his body is flung into the atmosphere, he begins to say to himself, "Hurt you?" Over at the Grandmaster satellite, as the Hulk goes flying right past it, Voyager teleports everyone on board, and while everyone watches the Hulk flying past them, she says, "I'm not really seeing the funny side of this." The Voyager tells everyone that they have to hurry. The world engine itself is almost indestructible, but the machines feeding it data have also been smashed. It's going to spin further out of control until it uses up all of its energy and it dies, and along with it, so will the planet Earth. Roberta then asks, "So how do we keep the lights on?" And Voyager says that's the easy part. They can charge the induction vent with electrical energy. Miguel says that he'll give it his best shot, and Mighty Thor tells him Mjolnir will stand ready to aid you. Tony then says, "Okay, so what's the hard part?" And Voyager tells them, "It's the wheel. It's linked to the planet's rotation. We need to hold it steady. The strength to do that would be like holding up an entire world." Hercules cracks his knuckles, stating that it would be a Herculean thing to do, a task for a god. Voyager says that it would take more than one god, and Thor's required elsewhere. Tony sighs, stating that in other words, we need a Hulk, and we're all out of Hulks to give. That's when Roberto tells them, "Not necessarily. I've been waiting for a chance to assert my unique leadership style and do something ridiculous." He takes off his jacket, and Tony says that she knows that he's super strong, but he's nowhere near that level of strength. And Roberto tells her, "Yeah, I am, because I switched off my regulator headband." Tony yells, "That's insane. Without that headband, your powers could end up killing you." And Roberto says, "Eventually, but until then, I'm the strongest mutant on Earth." He rolls up his sleeves and he tells everyone to get back into place. Earth and himself have an extremely limited window of survival. Back on Earth, Quicksilver runs into the room telling Wanda and Synapse that there is no time to waste. Wanda begins to state that she knows the Challenger has already, but Quicksilver stops her, telling her, "No, not that. There's a beacon that is keeping everyone in stasis, something faster than anyone could see, and I can't catch it, not on my own." Wanda tells him, even if she uses her magic, there's no guarantee that he could stop it. He could end up frozen again, or... And Quicksilver tells her, "There's no time. We're stretched thin and the world is crumbling before our eyes. If this could bring us more allies, we have to try." Wanda hesitates, and then starts to get ready, stating, "I'm not sure what's gonna happen if you move beyond the limit of your powers." Synapse pulls down her mask, telling Quicksilver that his mind will try and keep him from going that fast. And Quicksilver says, "You have to use your powers to help me break through the barrier." Synapse then says, "Even if it hurts?" And Quicksilver says, "Even if it kills me." She holds Pietro's head, telling him that she's sorry that they never. And Quicksilver stops her. "Don't apologize. Don't regret." And the two kiss. Wanda finishes her preparations and tells Quicksilver that she loves him. And Quicksilver tells her, "I love you too, sister." He begins to run, faster than he's ever run before. But he's not alone in this, not anymore. Wanda's sorcery destroys probabilities, and Synapse's mental powers unlock speed beyond fear. While everyone pushes through their struggles, Quicksilver knows that he's doing the impossible, and that is why they all have to work as a team to do the impossible. That's what it means to be an Avenger, to fight together, to do the impossible together, now and forevermore. He reaches out to catch the blue orb, moving at a speed that he has never crossed before, and as he does, he begins to disappear. Wanda feels his presence fade, and she falls to her knees, stating that he's gone. And at that exact moment, Voyager teleports to the Avengers headquarters where all of the heroes in stasis are kept. And she sees everyone coming back to life. Everyone is alive and moving well. As they all begin to ask what's going on, Voyager tells them that she thinks she's the hero they need right now. So trust her and pray that this works. She's going to reach out with her power to everyone close by, whoever calls themselves an Avenger. It's time to assemble. The freed heroes begin to set out to help where they can across the world, and they begin to notice that the world is slowly beginning to stabilize. Up in the Grandmaster's cosmic game room, Miguel finally collapses after exerting all of his energy into the world engine to try and keep it in proper balance, and Tony tells him that he did it. Now, all as long as Roberto and Hercules can keep the engine from unspooling. Roberto struggles to keep the rotation, and he calls back that there is no if. And Hercules tells him, "Aye, for 'tis a day unlike any other, when mortals rise to do the work of a god." Thor looks at him and grabs one of the cranks and says, "Indeed, what god would she be if she did not help?" But while those three keep the engine in check, Tony and Miguel begin to hear someone muttering to themselves, and they look back to see the Grandmaster has survived. He doesn't pay any attention to the heroes, and he continues walking to the back room, and Tony tells Miguel that she's going to need him to follow him. She can't leave because Roberto is doing the work of a Hulk if he birds out and she's not there to stabilize him. Miguel leans up and yells for the Grandmaster to wait. He can't just abandon all of these people, and Grandmaster looks back and tells them, "You're all but feeble organisms. Listen well, human. All that mattered was the game, and the game is now lost." Back on Earth, Challenger continues his reign of destruction, stating that it is pitiful to think that the Earth is this fragile. Rogue and Cannonball jet out of the smoke asking, "Yeah? Well, we kinda like it here." They both crash into the Challenger, and the rest of the Avengers begin to charge in, all focusing their attacks on the Challenger. As the teams begin to fight, Nadia sits with Voyager asking, "Can't you, teleport that monster into the sun or something?" And Voyager says that she's never used her powers on an Elder, but she could try. Before she can finish, an explosion goes off behind her, and the Challenger reaches down grabbing her, telling her, "Ah, Daddy's little spoiler. You can sit there and think about how all of this is your fault. Think about all the time and energy that you cost me in these last few days. Who do you think you are?" Sam Wilson's voice calls out, asking, "Right now, she's one of us." And with that, the teams charge in, beating into the Challenger. Back up in the cosmic game room, Miguel follows the Grandmaster, asking what is he planning on doing? Just leaving everyone to die? And the Grandmaster says, "Indeed, I was going to take a few trophies and then spirit myself away until the Challenger has cooled down. He's quite the sore winner." As Miguel looks up and sees the trophies the Grandmaster is talking about, they are the people who claimed the pyramids in the cosmic game. He looks back at the projection of Voyager down on Earth fighting with everyone, and he sighs. Then he makes the image vanish and says, "Such a waste." And Miguel asks, "What are you? Do you even care about your daughter?" Grandmaster tells him, "No, I don't. Now if you'll leave me alone." Miguel thinks that the only way that he could free these people would be to beat the Grandmaster at something. So what better to do than hustle out a game of poker? Down on Earth, Challenger continues flexing his power, keeping the Avengers at bay, and then Simon flies down telling the Challenger that if he wants to be a bully, they're gonna have to go through me. Challenger tells him that seems reasonable, and he releases a blast, tearing Simon apart. Voodoo quickly uses his magic to put Simon into stasis to keep his energy from separating, and Janet tells Nadia they're up. Challenger looks at them in their wasp sizes and says, "This planet is full of gnats." The two release electrical pulses into his eyes, and Nadia shouts, "We're not gnats, we're wasps, and we sting." Back up in the trophy room, Miguel and Grandmaster sit around the cards, and Grandmaster says, "A king, 2 queens, a 10 and a 2, very potent hand. Of course, it all depends on the cards that each of us are holding. Remember what's at stake here. The Human Torch's freedom against your own." Miguel looks at his hand and he says that it's not just his freedom, but his life. "If I win, you also give me Red Wolf." Grandmaster looks at his hand and tells him, "That's acceptable. And I will raise Earth, put back where it belongs." Grandmaster's hand is 2 kings, leaving him with a full house, and he laughs, stating, "If I win, I will take the Earth and all 7 billion trophies." Miguel doesn't respond, and he thinks to himself that there is one thing going for him. His ace in the hole card. The one thing that the Grandmaster doesn't know about. Down on Earth, each of the heroes take turns laying into the Challenger, punching and kicking until he finally falls. He yells that is enough! You have succeeded! And then he releases an earth-shattering blast, and he finishes up stating, "You have succeeded in irritating me!" Up in the trophy room, Miguel looks at Grandmaster in the eyes, and he says, "I raise." And the Grandmaster asks, "How? You would bet your life and planet. What else do you have?" Miguel tells him, "My history. Your daughter can alter memories, so I guess you can too." if you win. Living lightning would be forgotten. Grandmaster looks back at his cards and he thinks, he too could be the loser and be forgotten. He's done so much. There's so much that the Grandmaster is known for. Miguel presses him. Well? And the Grandmaster nervously throws his cards down, telling him, I fault. Miguel says, put the earth back. So the Grandmaster snaps his fingers and he asks, can I at least see what I lost to? Did you have a better hand or were you bluffing? Miguel grabs the deck and he says, actually, I wasn't even playing. Back on Earth, the heroes try to corner the Challenger and Captain America yells, hold the line, he's starting to weaken. Voyager watches and says, no, we're about to lose. And Elder's strength is nearly limitless. Humans are legendary for their fighting spirit, but it's now failing them. Beast yells that it's time to rally the team. You can control memories, right? Make them remember what it means to be an Avenger. Suddenly, all of the heroes begin to see the images of Avengers, of the lifetime, the lifespan of the Avengers flashing before their eyes. Images of them proving that they are, in fact, the Earth's mightiest heroes. Everyone that they have rescued, everyone that they have stood up to, they have looked death in the eye and they've told them no. There is no retreat, no surrender. After hearing that, Wanda begins to call forth the power of hope from the darkness, and that power begins to spread throughout all of the heroes like an infection, boosting all of their strength. She then shouts to let the call go forth. Avengers, assemble! And with Wanda's call to power, the Avengers do the impossible. They defeat the Challenger. As the smoke clears, no one says a word. They all take the time to enjoy their hard-fought victory with each other. And meanwhile in space, Captain Marvel and Alpha Flight suddenly see the Earth return. Now, with the dark clouds fading, the heroes now know that their next step in their fight is to rebuild what was lost. A short while after the fight, the heroes all start to gather at the destroyed mansion, including Jarvis. As Janet pushes his wheelchair up to the building, she tells him that she knows he hates being waited on, but it'll only be for a few days. As Jarvis looks at the mansion, Nadia runs out hugging him, shouting, yeah, do you want pancakes? We should all go out for pancakes. While Rogue starts to move through the debris, she looks at Roberto and tells him to take it easy. He practically shoved Earth back into orbit by hand. Roberto tells her, yeah, he plans on it long term. He's stepping down from leading anything. Sam then asks, what does he mean by that? He did good back there. And Roberto says, honestly, I know I did, but I wasn't 100% satisfied with how I led my team, the US Avengers. Sam says, yeah, well, that kind of comes with the job. It's when you start getting smug that your team gets smacked around. Rogue tells him to just take the win and relax. And Roberto laughs, telling her, fine, I'll try. But as everyone gathers inside, Voyager tells everyone that there's no proper way for her to say farewell after everything she put them through. Captain America tells her that when the time came, you answered the call. That speaks of the true quality of your character. And Voyager looks back at the Challenger and says that she'll do whatever it takes to make things right. The Challenger used to be a noble traveler and gamesman. Her father's relentless need for dominance drove him to madness. Perhaps she can find a way to someday rekindle the kindness that he once had. Roberto tells her, when push came to shove, you did the right thing. I'm proud to call you one of our own. And she tells him no. Maybe someday she'll earn a place among them, but not yet, not like this. She starts to open up a portal and tells everyone that she thanks them for inspiring her to do more than what she was. Through them, she sees a better future, and it gives her hope. As Voyager returns to the cosmos with Challenger, all the way over at Angargal, the Black Order once again finds themselves united, traveling through the Way Desert. And as they do, Corvus notices something, and Grandmaster appears before them. He tells them that he believes congratulations are in order. He and his team fought valiantly. Were Earth not the battleground, I suspect that you may have emerged triumphant. Which is why I'm here to offer the Cull Obsidian a new opportunity. One quite suited for your destructive needs. Back over at Auxiliary Headquarters, Tony gets to work on Vision, now with the proper tools. And she asks Roberto what is this thing that she's hearing about him breaking up the US Avengers. He begins to leave the mansion and says that, to the whole world engine thing, I'm not sure how many years of my life it took off. So now, I'm gonna take some time and get back to my roots. Citizen X. Be seeing you soon. Back over at Central Park, Wanda and Voodoo tell Synapse they wanted to meet with her regarding Quicksilver. She was linked with him in the final moments. What was it that she felt? She says that she knows this is going to sound strange, but the feeling that Quicksilver had was pure joy. Wanda tells him that she felt a similar wave of euphoria from him before he vanished, and she believes that he's still alive. Voodoo then says that Wanda and he are preparing to venture forth into the dimensions beyond space and time to find Quicksilver. And Synapse says that she knows that she's not really Team Magic, but if there's anything she can do, she would love to help and join them. Voodoo laughs, stating, 3 souls against the farthest reaches of the unknown? Why not? Back over at the small diner, Hawkeye hums to himself while drinking his coffee, and then he tells Bruce to have a seat. Bruce sits down, telling him, thanks for meeting me. And Hawkeye stops him, telling him, you never came back after the fight. Bruce tells him it was for the best. I only came here to let you know how sorry I was for what I put you through. You killed me, the trial, the guilt. Even then, it didn't work. I asked you, made you shoot that arrow, and it didn't even work. Hawkeye puts his cup down, telling him, I saw a vision. Saw it, felt it, tasted it. You were there, standing on everyone that I ever loved in the world. Jess, Bobby, Nat, Wanda, Kate, and your footprints were in them. So glad to do it, buddy. Bruce tries to find something to say that he can respond with that. Like, what do you say? But he just ends up stating that he should go. He's very sorry. As Bruce gets up to leave, Hawkeye sighs and tells him, damn it, wait. Too much changed. Tony's armor, bad Steve. It couldn't happen now. So, we stopped it. I stopped it. You have nothing to be sorry for. Deep down, Bruce Banner isn't a bad person. Remember that. Try and remember that. He looks back over his shoulder, and he sees Bruce Banner is already gone. Back at the mansion, Nadia runs up to Jarvis, telling him that she has a surprise. She holds up a small device with a projection of Jarvis. He looks at it and says that it is a very good likeness, and Nadia smiles, telling him that it's more than that. She built him an AI helper, an AI Jarvis. The small projection Jarvis then asks, how may he be of service? Nadia says, watch this. Jarvis, tell me where to find the chamomile tea. The projection says, certainly, Miss Nadia. Chamomile tea is in Captain America's pantry. And Jarvis stares at the projection, yelling, it is most certainly not. Captain America prefers Earl Grey. Chamomile is for Dr. McCoy. The projection begins stating that McCoy, alias Beast, is not yet in his programming, ming. And Jarvis shouts, I am not leaving. As Nadia begins to take Jarvis aside, he begins to think that this may be the end of an era. It's also the beginning of a new age. Like the founder's statue of the old being recast and rededicated, they need to take the important bits of that legacy to forge the future. The Avengers aren't a group of heroes, it's an idea. A promise to the people of Earth that they will always be protected by the strong of heart. He has seen these proud men and women victorious time and time again. But this time, this is their greatest triumph.
And that was Avengers No Surrender. I remember when this one came out and it was an incredibly fun read, and so I hope you got just as much joy out of watching this as I did reading it. Anyway, let us know in the comments down below, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.